Welcome to Mediaspace Members Daily. We bring you exclusive interviews from our leadership group and other professional influencers within the media, marketing, gov tech community globally. Today I have with me Kate Merritt, co-founder of Liberty Hive. Hi Kate, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Sun is shining. It's a rare 28 degrees in the UK today, which so what not to like. Thank you very much for inviting me to join you. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you with us as well. What are the main challenges for media freelancers in the hybrid work environment where borders are blurring between employees and freelancers?
I think it's a really interesting question because actually the main challenges for media freelancers have really changed tremendously over the last 18 months. As you know, workplaces have had to think about the new hybrid environment. So I think 18 months ago, there was very little blurring probably between those boundaries in the media industry. So if as a media freelancer, you wanted to work in a more flexible way, there was nowhere really to go to let someone know that you wanted to do it. And by the way, you had a long list of sort of credentials and expertise. And as a company, there wasn't really a mindset to use freelancers frequently, because where did you get them from anyway? And recruiters weren't interested in filling those temp roles. So as such, there wasn't really much of a blurring realistically, because if you were a freelancer, the feedback then was that you would get a desk in the corner and you're there to fill a distress call. But if you fast forward 18 months, this is where we've seen huge behavioural change in shifts, especially from companies and their attitudes to sort of agile resource or freelancers. So the challenges, therefore, are quite different. So I'm not sure I agree that they've blurred entirely, but we've seen loads of positive stuff from the blurring. So, for example, we've seen more freelancers embrace working like that, whether it's variety, change of work-life balance, but also companies are looking at agile resource in a much more positive way on the back of COVID and what we've come out of. So they're thinking about it, whether it's injecting fresh thinking, whether it's bringing someone in to speed up a project, or whether it's because they don't have the skill sets. So it's really moved on from that distress call. But where there is a line, this is what I was saying about the blurring, whether or not it's totally blurred, is that the functional borders or boundaries still exist. So what I mean by that is that's where the challenges lie. So we saw in April last year, IR35 was supposed to come in. It was delayed until this year. And that's a challenge for both freelancers and employers. But it really does make those boundaries very different for an employee and a consultant. So, you know, a consultant shouldn't be going to the office party, shouldn't be getting those perks and those benefits. So that needs to be set up properly, I guess, is the challenge there. And certainly at Liberty Hive, we work with people, IR35 Navigator, to make sure that companies and freelancers are abiding by those legalities. I suppose the other challenge when you look at employees versus freelancers is how do you appraise and give feedback? And for ages, it's really hard quite often for freelancers to get feedback from companies, and that's really valuable. And as an employee, you would get access to that normally. And I suppose the third challenge in that area, where there's no, again, blurring, it's quite different, is how do you develop your own skill set? So ordinarily in an agency, a media owner, you would have access to training and things, whereas self-development is really key for freelancers, and making sure they stay up to speed with industry trends is important. So I guess in answer to your question, in a roundabout way, the challenges for media freelancers have changed a lot over the last 18 months, but I would say in a very positive way. The blurring of lines has actually been positive, as I said, and I would say that freelancers and employees are working together probably closer than before, which is good. And where the challenges exist going forward, I mean, you need to get your head around is those more practical ones like the legalities, the personal growth, which do inevitably differ for a freelancer versus an employee.
What are the opportunities for media freelancers in the global marketplace? Can they get work opportunities outside their own country?
Yeah, this is again very interesting because there's no denying that digital transformation has completely opened up the global marketplace for media freelancers. I mean, just some stats quickly. I think there's 1.1 billion freelancers worldwide. That's all, not just media, obviously, but worldwide. And a recent study by Upwork said that 77% of freelancers say that technology's made it easier to find freelance work. So all these things are obviously fueling that global marketplace. You know, and at Liberty Hive, we're seeing that trend too. So we set the platform up as UK-based platform. We have put different currencies in recognition that it will go to become more global at some point. But already we have 10% of our community that have come from wonderful places abroad. So I think my favourite is the French Caribbean. Who wouldn't like an address like that, or Barbados? So we've got these great consultants that are working abroad. We've got lots of consultants in Poland, France, the US, all popular. So there is a desire to work across boundaries, and we do certainly see ourselves as having none of those geographical boundaries. However, again, the challenge comes with the legislation and the practicalities of that again. So each country has different tax rules, employment regulations. And so when you're thinking about doing that as a consultant, it's really key that you do your homework. I think, for example, the French Caribbean consultant we had, she's got the way she works coming the other way from the French Caribbean to the UK is that she's got a UK bank account. But that's not always easy to do. You know, not to keep plugging us, but Liberty Hive, we work with a partner, IR35 Navigator, who can help us do that and make sure that when we are working across boundaries, we can help support those consultants that want to do it. And it's really exciting because, you know, we sort of say, if imagine running a pitch in Australia and having the UK team or UK consultant working on the strategy in the day, and then, you know, the Australians picking up and doing the implementation overnight, whatever it might be. You can really get 24/7 teams going without what normally happens in pitch scenarios, we all know, is that everyone does 20 hours a day and then you also walk into the pitch. So to be able to have that kind of resource and tap into the different time zones as much as anything, it's really exciting. So I suppose, again, the technology's there, the desire's there. It's just now getting our heads around how we can work from a legal point of view really smoothly as well.
What's your advice for the rest of 2021?
Advice for 2021. So there's, if I think about what I'd say to either people hiring or to consultants coming to this for the first time, or freelancers, I think for the freelancer, going back to the previous questions, set yourself up properly. So look for partners that understand the media industry and can support you in setting up. So whether that's getting you the right jobs or helping you set up as a limited company, understand taxing, understand invoicing and legalities, it's really important. If you get that right at the start, you'll fly. And if they've got a community that can support you like Liberty Hive, you're never going to feel isolated. So I think it's really important to have that sort of network and understand that. The second point for a company looking to hire is just to be open-minded. We've seen a huge shift in the last 18 months, and humans respond and react in amazing ways to find solutions to problems. And COVID's shown us that, and workplaces are changing, and talent's looking for different ways to work with companies. So be open about how you attract your talent. You don't always need to have the permanent help to come in. Get someone in to bring a different perspective. We can't all go back, I don't think, to the way it was 18 months ago, when there's been really quite a lot of positives that have been made. And then the third point I would say, if I was offering advice to anyone, is all about quality and not quantity. Do your research as a company and a freelancer. But you know, until a few years ago, I think the feeling was that freelance platforms, around freelance platforms, was the bigger the better. But actually, it was really tempting to use those communities, like the big job boards and all the people. But actually, the specialist sites, like in our industry, or lawyers on demand, you've seen them in other industries, who understand their industry, understand the pressure points, can talk to employees about what they're looking for, but also speak to companies about the roles and understand those roles, do attract the best talent, and as a result have better success rates, both for freelancers and the companies hiring. So I think I'd finish on saying it's kind of tempting to get 100 CVs, but you only need one if I guess it's the right person.
Thank you, Kate, for joining us and for sharing your knowledge and expertise. Stay tuned for the next episode of Mediaspace Members Daily. In the meantime, connect with us at mediaspace.global.